The academy was built on a world far from Earth. It was not one planet's academy. It was a place where species from all across the galaxy came to learn together. Young aliens of every kind sat in tall halls, listening to lessons about history, science, and war. The academy was meant for peace, for unity, but fear was always present in the air. Different species came with different pasts, and many had old grudges. The hall was wide and silent. The walls shone with pale blue light. Rows of students filled the seats, their voices low, their movements careful. They waited for their new classmate. The teachers had said today would be different. A new arrival was coming, someone unusual. Nobody knew the name. They only knew the warnings. The door opened. A shadow stretched across the polished floor. Every head turned. Every throat went dry. Stepping inside was no ordinary alien. It was a predator. A real one. His kind was known across the galaxy for hunting, killing, and feeding on weaker creatures. His body was covered in scales, black and gray. His eyes were burning yellow. Sharp claws extended from his hands as if he carried weapons built into his flesh. His tail moved slowly, like a whip ready to strike. The predator walked in silence. But silence itself was heavier now. The air seemed to press down on everyone. Even the strongest students' creatures with armored hides are venomous. Fangs felt their hearts race faster. Instinct whispered in their minds. Danger. One student dropped his pen. The sound echoed too loud in the hall. Nobody dared to move. The predator's gaze swept across the room. His lips curled into something between a smile and a snarl. He could smell fear. He enjoyed it. He always had. On his homeworld, creatures ran when his kind appeared. Here, in this academy, he saw the same reaction. He saw prey. The teacher, an elder being with 4 eyes and gentle voice, cleared his throat. Class, this is Krelok. He is joining us for the season. His tone tried to sound calm, but even his hands trembled as he held the datapad. You will treat him with respect. Respect? No, everyone thought. This was not respect. This was survival. Nobody wanted to make eye contact. Nobody wanted to draw his attention. But one student did not look away. Ethan sat in the back row. He was human. The only one in the class. His hair was dark, his face plain, his body smaller compared to the giants around him. Many students thought. Humans were strange. They did not have claws, fangs, or scales. Their bodies looked weak compared to other species. They seemed soft, fragile. Nobody understood why humans were even invited to the academy. And yet, Ethan did not look away. His brown eyes met Krylok's yellow ones. The moment froze. A predator's gaze locked onto him, expecting the human to flinch. But Ethan's stare was steady, calm, and even curious. He tilted his head slightly, like he was studying Krylok instead of fearing him. The predator narrowed his eyes. The room felt colder. For a heartbeat, it was only the two of them, staring across the distance. Predator and Deathworlder. Hunter. And human. Krelok finally moved. His heavy steps echoed as he walked past rows of frozen students. He stopped near Ethan's desk. He leaned closer, his shadow covering the human. You, Krelok growled, his voice low, filled with threat. Why do you not look away? Ethan's answer was simple. His voice was calm, almost casual. Why should I? A ripple of shock passed through the classroom. Nobody ever spoke like that to a predator. Not here, not anywhere. Krylok's jaw tightened. His claws scraped the edge of the desk, leaving deep marks. But Ethan did not move. He only watched, as if the predator's show of power was nothing new. The teacher quickly interrupted. Please, take your seat, Krelok. We must continue. His tone cracked under pressure, dot with a final glare. Krelok turned away and sat in the corner. His tail flicked once, sharp and angry. But inside his mind, something was unsettled. Why did the human not fear him? Why did the human's heartbeat not quicken like the others? For the first time, Krylak wondered if he had misjudged. The lesson began, but nobody listened. All eyes kept drifting to Ethan and Krylak. One sat calm, silent. The other sat tense, ready to strike. The air between them was heavier than any lesson the teacher could give. Students whispered softly, "Does he not know who Krylak is?" One muttered, "The predator clans hunt creatures bigger than him. That human will not survive the week." Another whispered, "Maybe he is just foolish. Or maybe humans are too simple to understand danger." But a third voice trembled. "No, I heard humans are from a death world. A cursed place. Even predators fear their planet." The whispers spread, feeding the silence with unease. Ethan only leaned back in his chair, his expression unreadable. Inside his chest, his heart beat steady. Humans had faced worse than this. Earth was not kind. Earth never forgave weakness. Every storm, every wild animal, every disease, it all demanded strength. Humans grew with danger around them. That was their normal dot compared to Earth. Krylak was just another challenge. The day moved slowly. Krylak kept glancing at Ethan. Every time the human was calm, steady, unbroken. The predator felt something strange in his stomach, something he rarely felt. Was it irritation? Was it unease? He hated the feeling. He wanted to crush it, to break the human in front of everyone, to prove he was still the hunter. But another part of him whispered a question he had never asked before. What if this prey was not prey at all? The bell finally rang. The class ended. Students rushed out quickly, eager to escape the tension. Only Ethan stayed behind, packing his things slowly. Krylak stood by the door, waiting. His yellow eyes burned with challenge. When Ethan passed him, the predator leaned down and whispered, "You are not afraid. But you should be." Ethan looked up at him and smiled a small, sharp smile. "Maybe you should be." Krylak's breath caught for a second. He had expected fear. He had expected trembling words. He did not expect defiance. For the first time in many years, the predator felt something colder than anger. He felt the edge of fear. That night, in the academy dorms, the whispers turned into rumors. Aliens told each other about the human who did not bow to Krylak. Some laughed nervously. Some shook their heads, certain Ethan would be dead soon. But a few, just a few, began to wonder if the stories about humans were true. Stories of Earth, the death world where forests swallowed hunters, where oceans crushed the strongest swimmers, where skies threw storms that split mountains. Stories of fragile-looking humans who survived everything, who adapted, who refused to die. Krylak lay awake in his chamber, claws scraping the wall. His mind replayed the human's eyes, the human smile. Prey did not smile at predators. But this one did. Krylak clenched his fists. Tomorrow, he decided, he would test the human. He would see what this so-called Deathworlder was truly made of. And deep inside, though he would never admit it, Krylak was no longer sure who the hunter really was. The next morning in the academy was heavy with tension. Word had already spread everywhere. Students whispered in corridors, in the cafeteria, and even in the training yard. Everyone was speaking about the human. The story grew with every telling. Some said Ethan had insulted Krylak to his face. Others said the predator tried to attack him, and the human did not even blink. Nobody knew the full truth, but one detail was always the same. The human did not fear the predator. That was enough. To shut the academy, Krylak walked through the halls with his claws dragging against the metal walls, leaving long scratches. His eyes burned with anger. He had ruled over every space he entered. His presence had always silenced others. But now whispers followed him. They were not whispers of fear. They were whispers of curiosity. And all of them were about the human. For Krylak it was unbearable. He had to show the truth. He had to prove, once and for all, that humans were weak, soft, and foolish. The day's lesson was in the combat hall. Students gathered in a wide training room with tall ceilings and bright lights. The floor was made of shock-absorbing panels that could take heavy impacts. Here, species trained to fight, defend, and test their skills. The instructor was a tall alien with armored skin. He carried a staff of polished steel. His voice boomed. "Today we practice controlled duels. You will face each other, 2 by 2. Skill, not rage. Control, not chaos." The students nodded, though most of them kept looking toward Krylak. Everyone knew what he wanted. Everyone knew what was coming. The duels began. Different pairs fought, claws against shields, fangs against stingers. Some matches ended fast, others dragged on. But nobody cared. All eyes kept drifting to Ethan, who stood calmly at the back, arms crossed, waiting for his turn. Finally, the instructor called out, "Ethan, Krylak, step forward." The room went silent. Hearts beat faster. This was the moment. Ethan walked slowly to the center of the hall. His steps were steady. He did not rush. He did not hesitate. Krylak followed, heavier, louder, claws clicking against the floor. The predator's eyes glowed with hunger for dominance. They faced each other. The instructor looked uneasy. He knew the predator's temper, and he knew the human's strange calmness. "Remember," the instructor warned, "this is training. Not a fight to the death. Show control." Neither Ethan nor Krylak answered. Their eyes locked again, just as they had yesterday. But this time, the tension was sharper, more dangerous. "Begin," the instructor said. Krylak moved first. He always did. His body lunged forward with explosive speed, claws slicing through the air. Other students gasped. He was faster than most could follow. But Ethan was already moving. He stepped aside, calm, almost casual, and Krylak's claws cut nothing but air. The predator snarled and spun, tail whipping. Ethan bent low, letting the tail pass over him, then straightened again, still calm, still steady. Whispers spread. He dodged him like it was nothing. Krylak roared and attacked again, faster, harder, each strike a blur of claws. But every time, Ethan slipped away, just a step aside, just a lean backward, just enough. His movements were simple, but perfect. No wasted energy. No panic. To the others, it looked impossible. To Ethan, it was instinct. On Earth, death was everywhere. A wrong step meant falling off a cliff. A wrong movement meant a predator's teeth in your throat. Humans learned to move carefully, precisely. Not because they were stronger, but because survival demanded it. Krylak slashed again, but Ethan caught his wrist. Gasps filled the hall. The human's hand looked small against the predator's thick arm. But somehow, he held it steady. Krylak tried to pull free, but Ethan twisted slightly, using the predator's own strength against him. Krylak stumbled, crashing to one knee. Room went silent. Ethan let go and stepped back. He didn't strike. He didn't hurt Krylak. He only stood there calm, waiting. Krylak's chest rose and fell with rage. He was not used to this. Nobody ever made him kneel. Nobody ever turned his strength against him. He leapt again, desperate to end it. But this time, Ethan's foot shot forward, kicking into Krylak's chest. The predator staggered back, breath stolen. And then, Ethan stopped. He lowered his arms, stood straight, and spoke. "You fight like a beast," he said simply. Loud, angry, wild, but beasts don't win every fight. They die to something stronger or smarter. On Earth, that's the rule. The students stared in silence. Krylak's claws trembled. His pride screamed for him to continue, to tear the human apart. But something colder pressed against his chest. He realized he was breathing faster. He realized sweat thick and bitter ran down his scales. For the first time, Krylak felt it. Fear, not of pain. Not of death, but of the unknown. This human was not prey. This human was something else. The instructor quickly ended the duel. Enough, both of you stand down. His voice shook, though he tried to sound firm. Ethan obeyed immediately, stepping back, calm as ever. Krylak hesitated, claws still raised, but finally lowered them. His tail thrashed against the floor, frustration burning inside him. The other students whispered louder now. Did you see that? The predator couldn't touch him. He fought like he knew every move before it happened. Maybe the stories are true. Humans really are Deathworlders. Krylak stormed out of the hall. His pride was shattered. Ethan stayed behind, answering questions from curious students. One small alien with trembling antennae asked, "What is a Deathworld?" Ethan looked at him, his eyes calm but sharp. It's a world where everything tries to kill you. The land, the sky, the water, the animals, the weather. You grow up knowing danger is normal. Fear is normal. But fear doesn't control you. You control it. That's how humans survive. The students listened in awe. They realized something frightening. The predator Krylak had always ruled with fear. But humans? Humans live with fear every day. And learn to master it. That night, Krylak sat in darkness. His claws dug into the walls, but even the scratches gave no comfort. His pride burned, but his mind could not escape the memory of the duel, the human's eyes, the human's calmness. For so long, Krylak had believed himself the top of the chain. But now doubts whispered inside him. Was he the hunter? Or had he just met something far worse? The academy woke the next day with nervous whispers still circling the halls. The duel in the combat hall had spread like fire. Students of every species spoke of the moment when Krylak, the predator, had fallen to one knee before the human. For most, it was impossible to believe. A predator was meant to be unstoppable. His kind had ruled their worlds through blood and terror. Yet a single human had stood against him without flinching. Ethan walked calmly through the hallways, carrying his datapad under one arm. He did not look proud. He did not show victory. He simply moved as if nothing important had happened. But that calmness only made the rumors stronger. Krylak, however, did not carry himself with calm. His rage was like a storm. His claws dug grooves into walls. His tail smashed against doors, and his burning eyes warned anyone near him to stay away. But his anger did not erase the memory that haunted him. Ethan's steady stare, Ethan's simple movements, Ethan's words. Beasts don't win every fight. It was not only defeat, it was humiliation. Krylak needed revenge. That afternoon, the academy gathered again in the combat yard, but this time not for training. The predator had demanded a real fight. The instructor refused at first. This is not allowed. The academy exists to teach, not to spill blood. But Krylak's roar echoed through the halls. Then you are all cowards. Let the galaxy know your peace academy breeds nothing but prey. The insult was heavy. Too many proud species were present, and none wanted to be called prey. The headmaster finally agreed, under one condition. The duel would not be to the death. But it would be unrestricted otherwise. The students filled the wide arena. Tall walls rose high to prevent escape. The floor shimmered with energy fields to absorb impact. Alien eyes of every shape and color stared from the stands. Ethan entered from one side, quiet, steady. He wore no armor. He carried no weapon. His only tools were his instincts. Krylak entered from the other side, claws gleaming, teeth bared, his scaled body rippling with strength. He wore light armor across his chest, but no shield. He wanted the human to see every strike. The air grew heavier. The crowd leaned forward. The headmaster's voice rang. Begin. Krylak charged like a beast freed from a cage. His roar shook the arena. His claws struck with enough force to tear through steel, but Ethan moved like flowing water. He slipped. Aside ducked low and rose again behind Krelok. The predators spun, tail whipping, but Ethan leaned just out of reach. The crowd gasped. It was happening again, just like before. Krelok growled, "Stand still, coward. Fight me." Ethan's voice was calm. "Why would I fight like you want? You fight to kill. I fight to survive. There's a difference." The words stung deeper than claws. Krelok lunged again, striking in a blur. But Ethan caught his wrist, twisted, and let the predator's weight throw him forward. Krelok crashed to the floor with a thunderous impact. The crowd erupted in shock. Ethan stepped back, letting Krelok rise. His breathing was steady, his eyes sharp. He did not strike a helpless enemy. He gave the predator every chance to stand again. This only enraged Krelok more. His pride screamed louder than his pain. He leapt high, claws flashing down like blades. Ethan rolled aside, dust spraying under him, and Krelok's claws tore deep scars into the ground. "Why don't you end it?" Krelok shouted, spinning. With fury, "Why not strike me down?" Ethan stood still, watching him. "Because I don't need to. Victory isn't about killing. It's about showing you can't control me with fear." The arena was silent for a moment. The words cut deeper than wounds. Krelok's roars grew desperate. He struck again and again, but Ethan always moved just enough. A sidestep, a shift of weight, a duck at the perfect second. The human fought without wasted effort. The students, watching, began to understand. This was not luck. This was instinct, born of a world where every mistake meant death. Ethan had learned to fight not by training, but by survival. Finally, Krelok rushed blindly, rage blinding him. Ethan planted his foot, shifted his body, and struck one solid punch to Krelok's chest. It was not a killing blow, but it carried perfect timing and weight. Krelok stumbled back, his body hitting the wall of the arena. He slid down to one knee, gasping. His claws shook. His tail lay heavy against the ground. For the second time, in front of everyone, the predator was forced down. Ethan stood tall, breathing calm. He did not smile. He did not taunt. He only said one thing. "Now you know. Fear doesn't work on me." The crowd erupted. Some cheered, some whispered in shock, some sat in silence, unable to believe. Krelok stared up at the human. His chest burned with rage, but deep inside, another feeling grew, something unfamiliar. Respect, mixed with confusion, mixed with fear. He had wanted to crush the human. Instead, he had learned something he had never faced before. The human did not fight like prey. The human fought like a survivor. The duel ended. The headmaster stepped forward, raising his arms. "Enough. The human has proven himself. The predator has proven his strength. Let this be the last time blood is nearly spilled in this academy." But the truth was clear. Ethan had changed everything. As the crowd left the arena, whispers filled the air. Humans are not weak, Deathworlders. They are real. The predator fell twice to him. Students who once ignored Ethan now looked at him with wide eyes, some with awe, some with fear, but none with doubt. Krelok walked away in silence. His pride shattered, but his mind racing. He could no longer see Ethan as prey. He could no longer see him as weak. The human had forced him to see something terrifying. Maybe predators were not the top of the chain after all. That night, Ethan sat alone in his dorm. He stared at the stars outside the window. His thoughts were calm. He did not enjoy humiliating Krelok. He did not enjoy the fight. But he knew it had been necessary. On Earth, survival was daily. Here, in the academy, survival was a lesson others had never learned. He knew more challenges would come. He knew more predators would test him. But he also knew this. The galaxy was starting to see the truth about humans. And Krelok, lying awake in his chamber, claws shaking against the wall, whispered one truth to himself. The human is more dangerous than me. The academy was no longer the same after the duel. Before, Krylok's shadow ruled the halls. Students bowed their heads when he passed. They whispered only in fear. But now, when Ethan walked through, whispers followed him instead. Not whispers of fear, but whispers of wonder, confusion, and respect. Aliens of every size and shape watched the human with wide eyes. He looked so plain, so small compared to armored species and giant predators, yet he had stood firm. He had faced the predator. Not once, but twice. He had not only survived, he had made Krylok fall. The galaxy's chain of fear had cracked. Krylok felt it more than anyone. Every glance burned his pride. Every whisper was a dagger. He had lived his entire life believing predators were born to rule, born to command fear. And yet, one human boy had broken that belief in front of all. He avoided the halls. He stayed away from class. He trained alone in the empty combat yard, striking dummies until his claws split. But the more he fought shadows, the more the same image returned to him. Ethan's calm eyes, steady and unbroken. It haunted him. Krylok hated it. But he could not erase it. Meanwhile, Ethan lived as if nothing had changed. He studied in the library, walked the training grounds, and ate in the hall. He spoke little, but when others approached, he answered with patience. Curious students began to gather around him. A small insectoid creature with thin arms asked, "Human, what is Earth really like?" Ethan tilted his head. "Hard, dangerous, but it is home." Another student, scales shimmering green, asked, "Is it true your planet kills the weak?" Ethan gave a small nod. "Yes, Earth does not forgive weakness. Storms come without warning. Animals hunt at night. Even plants fight with poison and thorns. If you are careless, Earth teaches you only once. If you survive, you learn." The alien shivered. To them, his words sounded like horror. But to Ethan, they were simply truth. He leaned forward and added, "That is why humans are different. We don't look strong. But we learn, we adapt, we survive every day." The students fell silent. Some looked frightened, but others looked inspired. Krylok watched this from afar, his chest heavy. The whispers of respect, once his alone, now gathered around the human. His claws tightened, but deep inside, another feeling stirred. Not just anger, something else. Something he had never given to prey before. Respect. He did not want to admit it. He fought it, denied it, but the truth gnawed at him. The human had shown no cruelty. Ethan had every chance to humiliate him, to strike him when he was weak, but he never did. Ethan had only shown strength, patience, and control. It was something even predators rarely mastered. One evening, Krylok finally approached him. The training yard was quiet, the sun setting behind the academy towers. Ethan was practicing simple movements, steps, turns, dodges. His body moved with precision, no wasted energy. Krylok stepped forward, his heavy tail dragging. His voice was low, heavy with shame and pride fighting inside him. "Why did you not finish me? You had the chance. Twice. You could have broken me." Ethan looked at him calmly. "Because I don't need to." Krylok growled. "Is it mercy? Do you pity me?" "No," Ethan said softly. "It's because I don't fight to destroy. I fight to survive. You fight for dominance. I fight for life. That is the difference." The predator's eyes narrowed. He wanted to roar, to deny. But the words struck deep. He lowered his head. It was the closest thing his kind ever gave to an apology. For a few days, a strange silence grew between them. Krylok no longer tried to threaten Ethan. He no longer searched for a fight. Instead, he kept his distance, wrestling with feelings he did not understand. But then, the academy itself faced danger. It began with alarms. Red lights flashed across the walls. Sirens screamed through the corridors. Students panicked, running in every direction. Teachers shouted orders. The academy was under attack. From the skies, ships descended, raiders, mercenaries, hunters who preyed on unprotected colonies. They came not for knowledge, but for captives and resources. The academy, built for learning, was not ready for war. Its shields shook under bombardment. Its walls cracked, panic spread like fire. Students screamed, hiding under tables, rushing toward sealed doors. Some froze, trembling, but not Ethan. He stood in the center of the hall, scanning the chaos with calm eyes. His voice cut through the panic. "Stop running. Running won't save you. We need to fight together." Some stared at him in disbelief. Others shook their heads, too lost in fear. Then Krelok appeared, his chest heaving, claws ready. He looked at Ethan and growled, "You cannot order them. They will not listen." Ethan stepped closer, meeting his eyes. "Then you order them. You're a predator. They will follow you. But follow with reason, not fear." Krelok froze. The words pierced deeper than claws. For so long he had ruled by fear. But fear now only made the students panic. Ethan was right. If they wanted to survive, they needed something else. Strength and calm. Krelok turned to the trembling crowd. His roar echoed through the hall. "Stand together. Fight. The academy's not prey. Follow me or die running." And for the first time, when his roar shook the air, the students did not only feel fear. They felt something stronger. Resolve. The raiders broke through the walls. Heavily armed, armored, cruel-eyed. They expected easy victims. They expected prey. But what they found was something else. The students, led by Krelok's fury and Ethan's calm strategy, formed defenses. Tables became barricades. Tools became weapons. The academy's halls became traps. Krelok tore through raiders with claws sharper than steel. He fought like the beast he was born to be. But beside him moved Ethan, dodging strikes, pulling others to safety, striking with precision. Together, Predator and Deathworlder fought side by side. The students saw it with their own eyes. The Predator's raw power, the human's calm survival. Instincts, one roared, the other directed. One broke enemies, the other saved allies. Fear turned into respect. Respect turned into unity. The battle raged for hours. Smoke filled the halls. Fires burned. The academy trembled. But the students did not break. Under Ethan's direction and Krelok's fury, they pushed the raiders back. Finally, the enemy ships retreated, engines burning into the sky. The academy stood damaged, scarred, but alive. The students cheered. Tears of relief filled many eyes. For the first time, they had not hidden behind teachers or walls. They had fought. They had survived. Krelok stood in the ruins, his chest heaving, his claws dripping with blood. He turned to Ethan, who wiped dust from his face, calm as ever. Predator's voice was rough. You are not prey. You are not like the others. You are more dangerous than even me." Ethan met his eyes. His voice was steady. "I'm human. That's all." Krelok lowered his head. It was not defeat this time. It was respect. That night, the academy was quiet again. But the whispers had changed. No longer were they whispers of fear or doubt. They were whispers of awe. The human Deathworlder had stood when others ran. The Predator had fought beside him. And together, they had changed everything. But in the shadows beyond the stars, the raiders were not the only ones watching. Greater powers had seen what happened. And they had begun to ask a question more dangerous than any battle. What will humanity become in the galaxy? The academy had survived the first attack. But calm was only temporary. Students moved through the halls cautiously, their eyes scanning every shadow. Teachers worked to repair walls, reinforce shields, and prepare for another possible attack. But in the quiet moments, everyone knew the truth. The galaxy had seen the human and the Predator fighting together. And some forces would not tolerate that. Krelok stood in the combat yard, claws resting on his knees, his tail coiled tightly. Behind him, he had grown used to the uneasy feeling of respect he now felt for Ethan. He hated it, but it was true. Ethan walked toward him, calm as always, hands in his pockets. "You're ready," he said simply. Krylak growled. "Ready? You mean ready? To fight another horde? I am not sure we can survive what's coming." Ethan's brown eyes scanned the horizon. The sky above the academy was dark with approaching ships. These were not raiders. These were warships, sleek and deadly, armed with weapons that could tear buildings apart in seconds. They had come for the academy, for the students, for knowledge, and for prey. Ethan did not panic. He had learned to survive worse on Earth. "Then we fight," he said simply. "We fight smart together." Krylak's yellow eyes narrowed. The predator was used to fighting alone, to hunting, killing, ruling. But for the first time, he would fight with another, an equal in courage, if not strength. The students were gathered in the main hall. Panic had returned, but Ethan moved among them calmly, giving instructions. "Barricade doors. Use anything as weapons. Remember where each exit is. Watch each other's back." Some whispered, "He is too calm. We will die if we follow him." Others followed anyway. Humans had a strange way of inspiring trust, even when they seemed ordinary. Krylak stepped beside Ethan. His claws glinted in the dim light. "I will tear through anyone who threatens them," he said. Ethan nodded. "And I will make sure you don't overextend." Balance strength with strategy. The first of the warships descended, firing energy pulses that shook the academy walls. Windows shattered, debris fell. The students ducked under tables. Aliens screamed. But Ethan and Krylak stood firm. The battle began. Krylak moved first, his speed and strength unmatched. He tore through robotic drones sent to breach the halls, scattering sparks and twisted metal. Students who had frozen before were inspired. Now, they followed his lead, throwing tools, using energy blasters, and defending each other. Ethan moved like a shadow. He directed students where to go, taught them how to use the environment. He did not need weapons. He relied on precision, agility, and instinct. Every time a drone approached him or a student, he intercepted it with a simple but perfect move. A kick, a grab, a push. Nothing wasted, everything effective. The predator watched, confused. Humans were small, fragile-looking, yet in Ethan's hands, life and death balanced with ease. Hours passed. The academy shook with explosions, fires, and shouts. Outside, warships fired relentlessly, but inside, the defenders were no longer prey. Krylak and Ethan had created a team of students who fought with coordination, courage, and hope. At one point, Krylak was surrounded. 4 enemy drones had him in their sights. The predator roared and tore through 2, but one shot hit his side. Pain shot through him. For a moment, he faltered. Ethan appeared beside him instantly. With a swift move, he flipped a nearby panel, striking the remaining drones with perfect force. "Focus," Ethan said calmly. "You fight, I cover." Krylak blinked. The predator had always fought alone, always relying on power and speed. Yet this human, calm and clever, had saved him without hesitation. It was clear. The human did not just survive the death world. He thrived in chaos. He mastered fear, strategy, and survival better than any predator Krylak had known. The battle raged into night. Smoke filled the air. Fires burned across the academy. Students were bruised, cut, but alive. The warships finally withdrew, perhaps confused, perhaps afraid. The academy was damaged, but standing. Krylak turned to Ethan, chest heaving, eyes wide. I underestimated you. Humans, you are not prey. You are." Ethan's expression was calm, almost tired. "We are survivors. That's all." Krylak lowered his head, claws resting on the ground. It was not submission. It was respect. Deep, permanent respect. After the battle, the students gathered outside. The Academy's scars told the story of struggle, courage, and survival. They looked at Ethan differently now. No longer the strange, small human in the back row. He was the leader, the Deathworlder who had guided them through impossible odds. Even Krillok walked beside him. The Predator no longer feared him. Nor did he see him as prey. They were equals in courage, different in style, but the same in determination. That one young student asked, "Will humans always be this unstoppable?" Ethan smiled faintly. "We survive. That's what humans do. But the galaxy is full of danger. Survival isn't about strength. It's about learning, adapting, and standing together." The students nodded, realizing that lesson had saved them today. Krillok finally spoke to Ethan alone, outside the Academy walls. The night sky stretched wide above them. Stars twinkled, distant, cold, and beautiful. "You changed everything today," Krillok said. "Not just me, the Academy, the students, even the galaxy may begin to see humans differently." Ethan looked up, eyes reflecting the stars. "We did what we had to do. That is all." Krillok hesitated, then said quietly, "I will follow you if you lead, not because I fear, but because I trust. Humans, Deathworlders, you are dangerous in a way I never imagined." Ethan simply nodded. "Dangerous? Maybe, but necessary." The galaxy had changed. The Predator who had walked into the classroom, expecting to dominate, found himself learning something he never thought possible. Respect, partnership, and survival could be more powerful than fear. And the human? Ethan, the Deathworlder, had shown everyone, Predator and student alike, that courage, calm, and instinct could turn the tide. Even against the most terrifying forces, the Academy would never forget the human who stood when all others feared. And Krillok, the Predator, would never forget the one human who taught him the true meaning of survival. Because sometimes the smallest, calmest figure could change the galaxy. And that human Deathworlder had done exactly that.